And good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Smudcast number 806. I'm Not Strong Enough, the Masculinity of Mr. Incredible. Oh my, this video from Master Samwise came out April this year, has almost 320,000 views, and looks very positive, so I'm assuming this is going to be a smart, articulate, maybe first, second year ethics, philosophy, student style of essay format for 17 minutes. I'm not sure what to expect. I don't think we ever covered Master Samwise before. So I expect lots of little mistakes, but maybe an overall general positive view of storytelling through the look of a man going through phases of his adult life. I'm assuming. Could be wrong.
Could be wrong. Yeah, the line in the title has the line "I'm not strong enough," which is spoken by Mr. Incredible, by Bob, near the end of the movie, and that's coming after the entire rest of his arc, where he is trying to come to terms with putting the family life juggling the family life with his revitalized superhero life, because the superheroes did go into hiding for the longest time, according to the backstory.
Oh, this is about the second movie?
Yeah.
No, this is mainly the first one. That's where the line comes from. So trying to juggle his love of his desire to be a hero, to help others, with the family life, and this is near the end of it. This basically almost right at the end of his arc, where he's like, he believes he's not strong enough to be the superhero and protect his family, but after that line, he is reassured that there is at least a possibility that he can.
Okay.
So there's the context. Generally, there's the context for that line.
All right. So it sounds like a little bit of existentialism in there. We don't know. We'll find out.
There is a little bit of that in his arc in terms of being a superhero again after all those years of being in hiding.
Oh yeah, I'm wondering about the content of the essayist. What's he going to say? What's he going to do?
Well, that's always a whole other level of when we watch the video. But at least the media itself, like we have the context. At least some of us have seen the movie. I don't know about you guys. I have seen it a few times.
It's been a while, but we cover a lot of people. So and if this is a positive take or a positive upvote ratio, then I'm going to assume it's going to be generally good. So
let us hope and pray.
Yeah, you never know. He might throw in some philosophers in there. I'd like to hear what he has to say.
But it's funny, especially I find it funny that this year is also the 20th anniversary of the movie. So nice little touch there too. Yeah, yes. 2004.
Amazing.
Awesome.
How old that is now.
It makes you feel really old, doesn't it?
and it still holds up. Again, I'll beat the horse dead for as long as I draw breath. It is a really good movie.
You're completely right about that. And because this was on the docket, I brought myself to watch the second one today, just in case things come up about that. And I was surprised. Back then, there was a lot of mucking about the movie due to some of the theme choices, story choices. But I don't really see that play out or be deserved in that fashion.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's like, at worst, it's just doing the first movie again with with different characters being switched in and out. But
that's why I thought you were talking about the second movie just now, because that is in a different way the same story.
It could include parts of the second movie in terms of Bob, but in terms of Mr. Incredible, there's not much in the second movie. Maybe just to compare one to the other.
Well, that's because the trick here in the second movie is that husband and wife have to switch roles of who stays home and takes care of the kids. And that's a classic story. And he manages that well once he figures out what to do. So he's a great dad on top of everything else. The second movie has one big problem, and that is that the daughter looks so uncanny. She looks horrible. The model is horrible, and I thought in the right from the start, something is wrong with the voice actress, because the voice actress of this, what is she, 15, 16? She sounds like 50. And I looked up her age, and at the time of the movie, she was 48. And she had an old woman voice. That is just so wrong.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see finally a positive spin. Maybe again, I like putting on my English lit hat or my philosophy hat on and listening to a student's take on stuff. So, yeah, let's go for it.
A man should be strong. This is widely accepted. Since the time when we hunted mammoths with sticks and stones, there has been no shortage of voices proclaiming this assertion. But why? To what end? And for that matter, what does it mean
The should
to
is
be
a product
strong,
of need
especially in
to.
our modern world? To answer these questions, we will examine the character arc of an early 2000s animated dad. Nope, Iro, sorry, not you. You're going to have to ride the bench on this one. It's time for Robert Parr, also known as Mr. Incredible, to step into the spotlight and show us the true meaning of masculine strength. Now, superheroes are obvious prime.
The short answer is also that means you're healthy. You're in good health. Like not a muscle man who goes on stage to win prizes for how awesome his muscles look, but just being in good shape means you are healthy because muscle tissue does a damn lot of filtering, it turns out.
And that aspect is also directly represented in the movie, in the montage when he works out.
Yeah, we don't need to extol the virtues of good health and fitness and having an active lifestyle. That's been known forever. So
though it is a plus in this case because that is part of his arc with how with his outlook on the two sides of his life come about with him.
Right. So the idea of strength and the capacity of this film has very little to do with physical strength.
Yeah, and Tyler
it's
Preston
showcased.
just noted that they're making a third movie, and
that one's
I
definitely
am
going to
not-
go downhill.
I'll be careful about that with current Pixar.
We got with the second
and-
movie. Yeah, go. Sorry, go ahead.
And they need a new voice actress for the girl. She's
Yeah.
gonna be in her late 50s now. Holy shit! You can't have a 60-year-old woman voice act a 17-year-old.
At best, they can do a time skip, and they can just prolong it a little bit, or they recast.
No. You rewatch the second movie, just the start of
No,
it.
yeah,
and
there is
listen to the
there
voice
is a
of the
difference, I
girl.
know. Yeah.
She sounds like a grandma with it's the grating, creaky thing in the back of the throat.
Yeah. We got lucky with the second movie, with having turned out as decent as it did, despite the current entertainment climate.
Well, some people actually like that. Like I've heard people on Twitter, even just was it yesterday or today? They thought Shorey Agudashlu's voice was like chocolate velvety coffee, and I was like, she is a chain-smoking old woman. Like she does not sound like velvet. She does not sound like this. Like this fine wine. No, she sounds like a craggy old. It's a beautiful voice, but it's not velvety. It's not soft and delicate. It's just anyway. People have different tastes.
Examples of strength. In their purest form, they represent the best of us, the epitome of humanity, both physically and morally. When might and right combine, we observe the best that men can be. Mr. Incredible is such an archetype, a man of immeasurable power and endurance who lives to serve others, and one with the ability to live that life of service without restraint. That is to say, he is, at the beginning of the story, enough. In any given situation, he will emerge victorious. This is demonstrated as he simultaneously rescues a cat from a tree and stops a speeding car full of gunmen. Lesser men might have ignored Grandy's plight and focused on the higher priority, but not Mr. Incredible. His strength will triumph every single time. He truly can do it all.
Thank you, Mr. Incredible. You've done it again.
Yeah, you're the best.
And the first scenes wrap with him having it all. He's a superhero at the top of his game, married to another superhero at the top of her game, and as the next Pixar movie puts it, life could be a dream. And then that dream unravels in the space of a single voiceover. The next thing you know, Mr. Incredible is working a soul-sucking job, driving a tiny car, and dealing with all the mundanities of normie life with no opportunity to do what he loves most except for on Wednesday bowling nights. It's worth noting that Bob Parr works, assumedly chose to work, for an insurance company. An organization that, in theory, is there for the people when they are at their lowest, is there to lift them out of suffering and restore their hope for the future, but in reality is just milking their premiums for profits and forcing their employees to pay for office supplies and electricity used. Helen's upbeat line,
"Go save the world one policy at a time, honey,"
as he's having to explain to this poor old lady that her claim is denied, serves to emphasize the dichotomy between who Mr. Incredible was, who he thinks he still should be, and who...
We got a big word, dichotomy. Okay. It woke me up. It's like, uh-oh. I wouldn't use that in this context. It's just showing his life at this stage and then life the next stage, superhero life, and now his mundane one. That's it. It's not a dichotomy.
No, aside from that, he's spot on, though.
Right.
Yeah, I have one question, Ginga. Since you know crazy things, you might be able to give an answer.
Depends on what
Do
it is.
Do you know who his boss here was modeled after? Is there an American actor that looks like him?
I'm trying to remember. I know the actor, but I don't remember the reference for the model.
Because the German voice actor is actor Herbert Feuerstein, whom he looks exactly like.
Okay.
Well,
maybe they modeled him
that's
after
certainly
that.
Well, and for context, for those watching, the actor for Mr. Huff here in the American version is Wallace Shawn.
Does he look like him?
No.
Okay.
But the voice fits so well for that character, though.
Okay. Then look up. I'll type it in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the Discord. Okay. Look up this guy and tell me whether he looks like this character.
All right, I'll do that. But the boy. While I look that up, the general idea here is like that comparison between who Bob used to be and who he is now. It's like that the contrast is on full display with how the everyday dynamic for this person plays out from one point in his life to the other. That he's right about.
Okay.
And yeah, they look similar.
He longs to use his natural, or I guess supernatural, strength to protect the weak, but he's being forced to use a tiny fraction of it to stamp red ink on their appeals. In this, we see the established virtue of Mr. Incredible. He knows what his strength is for. There's no temptation to use it for his own selfish gain at the expense of others. Like with all virtues, however, prudence is required to properly order self-service. Mr. Incredible is zealous in his desire to help others, to the point that he, yeah, I think the guy might need a chance to let loose now and then. A lot of pent-up energy there. One of the most wonderful aspects of this character is that he wants the right thing for the right reason, but he struggles with his inability to actually have that thing, for making room in his psyche for other priorities and responsibilities that have replaced it. And he's not completely right nor totally wrong in that desire. Legal or illegal, Mr. Incredible still has the power to help others, and choosing whether or not to act when lives are on the line is not a decision to be made lightly. I don't know how you could live with yourself if you chose to go bowling and then found out 8 people had died in that fire. I also don't know how you could live with yourself if you missed your kids growing up, if you deprived them of a father, either because you simply were not present or because you made a fatal mistake.
That's
yeah.
Go ahead.
That's pretty simple. If you don't have a conscience, which usually means you're a villain, but
yeah, I mean, we're talking about the plight of every working man like 60 years ago, that they had to work long hours and come home, and they didn't have much energy to do much else, and they left it up to the other caregiver to take care of the family. And yes, you had them on weekends, you had them during the holidays, but that's pretty normal, or used to be pretty normal. Nowadays, it's even more hectic with 2 parent incomes or 2 family incomes, and we have all kinds of daycares and other systems in place to raise your kids.
That we need 2 incomes for, to pay for, so that we can go to work to finance the daycare.
Exactly. So
it's so stupid.
That's how we got feminism in the 70s to work, and now the world responded saying, hey, wow, we got more people making money, let's raise prices on everything, like houses. And then to afford your house, you have to work with 2 incomes.
And can tax that household's income twice. Isn't that amazing?
It's wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Thanks, feminism.
Faced with such a choice night after night. Well, lying to your wife probably isn't a good start.
It was just a little workout. Just stay loose.
That's absolutely not what it was, and that's absolutely not why it was. Bob dragged Lucius into that burning building because he has to be a hero. Because hero work is the one thing that satisfies and fulfills him. Because saving others is the only way he knows how to put his strength to good use. Because it's how he finds purpose. But he can't tell Helen that. How could he? Do you want to look the wife that birthed your 3 children straight in her face and tell her that you don't find your life with her fulfilling? That you feel purposeless and lost? Yeah, I didn't think so. None of this is to say that Bob...
Well, that's not the nature of his character. I mean, it depends how open you are with your loved ones and your family. So he's trying to monologue the story. I get it, but it's like, okay.
In his case, it's in Mr. Incredible's case, it's also his calling. Or somebody's most passionate hobby, and nobody wants to be deprived of that if you have such a thing.
Also within the context of he went into hiding, so he's trying to hide even to his family that he wants to become a hero again, and they realize that they can't. So it's like, all right, I'm not going to talk about it.
It's like, yeah, and he's so morally in the right that he wants to help people to the point where he risks the very existence of all superpowered individuals, because of those incidents in the past, they all had to go into hiding, and in risking all of that, he's doing the right thing despite risking that whole ordeal that caused all this in the first place.
Wasn't that in the first movie about fraudulent court cases where saved people complained that they had been saved?
That was only the one person, like, at near the end of the opening of the movie, and it was just generally the methods that some of the superheroes took to do their jobs. It was in violating God knows how many laws with that.
Well, that's usually when you have rogue heroes. That was the whole point of a storyline in Marvel, wasn't it?
The Civil War storyline.
Yeah.
Although the people more commonly compare the event that caused the superheroes in The Incredibles to hide, they compare it more to a Watchmen than anything. It lines up a bit better from what I know.
Alrighty, let's keep going.
But yeah,
Bob is a bad husband, a bad father, but rather simply that he is, of all things, a normal one. He is clearly trying to love his wife and kids as best he can.
Mommy and I are always a team. We're always united.
But he has goals and dreams beyond his family life, as is normal and quite healthy for men. But his lack of ability to work toward those aspirations erodes his ability to meaningfully engage with his family. He is distracted at the dinner table by news of missing ex-supers.
Yeah.
He bickers with Helen about his lack of presence and his obsession with the glory days.
This is not about you, Bob. This is about Dash.
His home office is a shrine to the bygone past, whereas Helen's awards from her superhero days never even see the light of day until 3 years after they move.
The last 3 years don't count because
I finally unpacked the last box.
It's tempting to say that Bob should let the past be the past, that he should simply buckle down, provide for his family, and do what he legally can to help those in need. And those are all wonderful, virtuous, masculine things. For most men, they should and would be enough. But this is not any man. This is Mr. Incredible. So it's no small wonder when opportunity comes knocking, when the possibility to provide for his family while also finally getting to put his strength to its proper use comes up, that he jumps at the chance. How could he say no? He can, in one fell swoop, relive the glory days, do what he loves doing most, and bring stability to his family. What man wouldn't say yes to such an offer in the space of 10 heartbeats? It's not as if there's any moral issue here either. He's going to a remote island to fight a robot that is threatening the people living there. All he has to do is let Helen know what's going on and...
the company is sending me to a conference.
Oh, so the whole...
So Mommy and I are always a team.
That's out the window, I guess. But why? Well, I think the first reason is quite obvious and not so great. Bob knows his wife wouldn't approve of the supposedly from a secret government agency mission delivered by a pseudonym on a self-destructing iPad who legally doesn't exist. Because, clearly something isn't quite right in that situation. Second, and more to Bob's credit, he's trying to protect Helen. Considering the recently completed move, not to mention the fact that they're not exactly seeing eye to eye at the moment, he would rather not rock the boat any more than he absolutely has to. Is it the right decision?
What?
No, lying to your spouse tends not to be. But we know Bob does love Helen and wants her to be safe and happy.
Can't do that to my family again. Everyone just got settled out. I'll make...
So his motives here, while certainly flawed, are not entirely selfish. If Helen went on believing that everything was hunky-dory at InsureCare and Bob was simply climbing the corporate ladder, it would be easier on her.
I don't think he needs to retell the entire movie.
Does not mean choosing what is easiest or safest for them, but rather what is best for them. But we'll come back to that point near the end of the story.
Is he going on some sort of maxim that he's believing the movie has? Because he's trying to justify Mr. Incredible's behavior. It's like, you don't have to. Like, you don't have to analyze it to this capacity.
Yeah. It's clear in the movie that like he wants to do right by his family while also being able to do the right thing like he used to.
Right. It's
like being a superhero to help people. And as there have been people over the years that have painted Bob as being more selfish than how it looks sometimes when he expresses this whole thing, but at the end of the day, it is just to help people that he wants to do this again.
Yeah. I don't think that's a worthy criticism of him. It's just weird inversion videos for clicks.
I'm curious.
I don't know what else to call them.
At least, well, this guy isn't necessarily making that claim, but those that do, it's like they really trying to paint him as being paint him as being more selfish when he's not.
Yeah,
it's just that it's like his ultimate desire is to have both the family and the superhero life.
Yeah, he's
doing his best to try to have that. It just all goes awry because, well, first of all, it's a movie, that's the plot, but also these things tend to happen when you take those big risks like he's doing.
Yeah, he's not really describing a moral framework. He's just trying to justify in some basic words why Mr. Incredible is doing what he's doing. It's just like, okay, that's fine, but we can watch the movie ourselves and figure it out very easily as well as everyone else can, that he's excited and he also doesn't want to hurt his family in the process, but he wants to do it for his family as well. It's like, it's that simple. It's not some deontological framework that he has like some maxim he has to follow and his parents or his family doesn't have to know about that. It's like, no, he's just doing what he thinks is best at the time for himself and his family. That's it.
You know what? For all we know, this could be a response to this video could be a response to the people that claim that Bob is going back into the superhero life for selfish reasons. Mm-hmm. Because this video is sounding like the opposite of that.
If that's the case, he would have to show the difference between selfishness and, I don't know, utilitarianism or something that would say, okay, he's excited, that's personal, but he's also doing it for his family and he thinks he's good enough and strong enough and blah, 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 that he can do it and get away with it.
Bob is driven by universal good. He is happy when he can help others, and he is not when he can't. That's the simple core of his pain.
The scene,
and I would not call that. You cannot call that selfish to want to fit that into your life.
Yeah,
just because it makes you happy. Because he's not doing it to make himself happy. He feels bad because he can't help people that need helping.
That's exactly why there's the scene at the insurance company where he throws his boss through 5 different walls. It's the infuriated by the fact that he can't help someone else.
Yeah, like that old granny. That was the whole.
That whole scene. The whole scene where it's like he covertly tries to explain how she can get the request accepted for her insurance plan. That too. That's part of his nature.
Yeah, and his boss effectively showed him that, well, insurance companies aren't good. They're evil.
Of course.
And they couldn't take that anymore. But
that whole part of the movie was to show that it's in Bob's nature to help others, not for himself, but for others.
Yeah. He can't be any other way. He's a paragon.
Yeah,
that's why he is Mr. Incredible. He is the paragon. He is the ultimate hero in this world.
That's why he took the risk of all risks of exposing the Super Saiyan and doing all of those, taking a Wednesday every week to claim he's going bowling with Lucius, but in actuality, just trying to help people whenever and wherever he can, despite the big risk with that. He is risking the biggest thing in their lives to continue to help people.
Yeah, and the play on that is that sneaking away from your wife to get drunk with friends, and he is sneaking away from his wife to help people. It's a beautiful, quaint joke.
Yeah,
it's a real subversion, a proper one. And one thing I wanted to add here is the problem of this movie. Of uniting your private life and your superhero life is something that bad franchises, they just repeat that in the next movie, maybe in another way, because they're not creative. The second movie of The Incredibles has learned from that, and the crux of it is the problems arise from, okay, you do the superhero stuff, I do the family stuff. And because the roles are reversed, you get the troubles. And that's a nice development.
But
we won't repeat the mistake of the past. We've learned from that. Now we do a different mistake.
Yeah, the second movie also has the advantage of they're also trying to bring the superheroes back. That adds an extra spin to the premise.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's also why it makes sense that they went for Elastigirl, because they do argue with the numbers of Collateral, but in the end, it's just as much, oh, she's a woman, that sells better. And that's the reason why she has the superhero focus.
What props that up a little more is also the fact that a lot of his actions in the first movie do kind of prove that point. Ranging from the opening to near the end when they fight the Omnidroid. So there is a little bit of leverage that the second movie had when having that plot point of Helen being the person to be the spearhead for bringing the supers back, as opposed to Bob. There was evidence, to be sure.
Yes. But I remember the critique back then was, oh no, they focus on the woman, she's going to be the hero and the man is going to be put down, which is the woke pattern. But that is not actually present here. There's reason for this. This is a classic story you could have had in the 90s. Exactly like this, no problems.
Yeah.
There was justification for everything. And they appealed to Elastigirl's ego in this instance.
Yeah, they put her through a similar, not identical arc, and it did help develop her a little more.
Yeah, and the entire joke of the father doing the housekeeping and childcare, that's a classic one.
Yeah, that was nothing new either.
Yeah, and so nothing special that puts him down. To the contrary, he does figure it out at the end, and the family comes together. It's wholesome all around.
And that's the strength of The Incredibles, the fact that no matter what happens, they always come together.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't want the third movie right now, as I wouldn't want anything right now, because right now still everything is horrible. Everything gets ruined and infested with crap.
Especially if they keep going down the line and decide to focus on the kids. Dear God.
All right. Let's keep going.
We finally get to talk directly about this video's main theme, strength. That is, getting absolutely jacked. This montage after Mr. Incredible's first mission is basically a commercial for the motto, hit the gym. You'll look better, you'll feel better, your relationship will improve, there's pretty much no downside. All of that is probably true for about any dude, but we owe it to ourselves to ask one simple question: why am I getting swole? You may have noticed that.
Why? What is this video? Are we talking?
That caught me off guard. What do you mean by
it's
that?
getting weird.
Yeah.
To be in good health. You just gave all the reasons, by the way.
We went from talking about this difference of lifestyles and him trying to find himself, and then he's like, well, then he gets jacked, and what does it mean? And why do we get strong? It's like, dude, what are you talking about? What is the point?
Because you can't fight for good. You can't fight evil while you're a pile of lard.
Yeah, there's no...
and the fight right here that he's going to show the clip from in the volcano against the Omnidroid. It's like that's part of for the reason why he gets jacked, or at least works the weight off.
Well, within the context of Incredible, he's already strong. He's just trying to get back to his original form, which was arguably stronger, but he's already superhuman. When we talk about being...
The idea is that once he finishes the workout after the montage, that it's generally believed he is much stronger than he was at his prime.
Right.
Because he's not magical Superman. He is a regular down-to-earth Superman.
And that's part of what makes this movie all the better, because it is much more grounded compared to the Marvel and DC stuff, while also borrowing a lot from them, but also giving it a unique spin.
Yeah, and
it manages to balance the 60s aesthetic with the modern day technology. It meshes that so well that I would be happy to live in this world.
Well, they don't really go into the ethics.
Again, this is part of his arc that he goes through across the entire movie. I think this is, if I remember correctly, this is the halfway point of the movie, roughly, or at least close. So this is the pivot point for him. This fight.
Okay.
Bob didn't choose to get into shape until he had a practical reason to do so. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that most of us nerds won't need elevated levels of physical fitness in order to provide for our families. And if you do, your job probably gets you there without requiring you to hit the gym. So is it pointless for us to bother pumping iron at all? No, of course not. Strength always has a purpose, even if not quite so obvious as it is here. For one thing, you never know.
This is the silliest argument, like, well, it's good to know some martial arts because you never know you're going to get into a street fight. It's like, if you get into a street fight and you're a martial artist, you know more than anyone else not to get into a street fight and to walk away as quickly as possible. So no, this is not a good argument for...
Unless you've been in a mech dojo.
Yeah, like, if he means it's like, if you put in the efforts, like, you'll be ready for whatever comes next, it's like, okay, fine, but that's not the wording here.
Yeah.
It's good to be prepared.
He's talking about getting jacked to do what? To move furniture really efficiently? Like, what is he talking
He also makes the mistake of solely focusing on strength.
Yeah.
Working out properly also makes you more dexterous. Also increases your sense of balance.
Yeah.
And that is so much more important.
We are focusing on the literal concept of getting strong when really what we should be talking about is discipline. And it doesn't matter if it's physical discipline. Obviously, that's important. But it's the discipline for you to do something to get better at it and that you can have an excellence in a thing. That's what he should be talking about in terms of morals, in terms of moral superiority, in terms of, okay, I can become an ethical being.
Which he has brought up a little bit, but not enough for the character we're talking about.
Oh, he has completely shifted gears from talking about the movie as character.
He just shifted to physical strength.
Right, and I'm a little concerned why, because there was no like paragraph break. It was just one entire thought, and I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, and again, like to your point earlier, it's like in terms of Bob himself, like strength, physical strength has never been the issue.
Right. He wanted to get leaner. He wanted to get more efficient. He wanted to, like, obviously get out of that crazy little thing he was trapped in. And he was too fat.
Yeah.
I got to lose weight. I got to get fit.
And as we know from the rest of the movie, it paid. And from the rest of the movie and a good portion of the next movie, it paid off in the long run.
Also mind that if you only go for strength, you may be super strong, but you will be slow. Everybody knows that. And that is usually the error that henchmen in these kinds of movies go into, which is why they can be beaten by anyone who is even slightly smaller. Because, this is also the thing in Taekwondo is a great example. You have I don't know if English uses the same terminology, flyweights, which would be super lightweight, I believe, and then there's also super heavyweight. And a super lightweight, these guys can jump and spin and hit your head with a twirl. It's insane. But the super heavyweights, well, where they hit, nothing's going to grow anymore. But they're really, really slow, so they're easier to dodge. So don't just build muscle. That doesn't help, and it doesn't help a superhero. Go to the peak of your physical fitness. That is what you want. That is the most healthy, and that is the most useful.
And that's what Bob did over the course of that montage.
Exactly, because he has a large build. He is a super heavyweight.
Anyway, if you're doing an essay on a cartoon, do not go into the health benefits of lifting. It just doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to be the right pivot. I just don't think it connects very well.
Though the
most important health benefits of lifting are psychological.
Oh, I'm not against it. I just don't think if you're going to focus on a literary understanding of character and plot, then hey, you know what? Let's get into gym exercise. It's like, what are you talking about?
Although, to be fair, that does play a minor factor in Bob's character, just not as much as he's saying.
I know. It's if he starts going into like exercise routines and quoting like other YouTubers who are in the fitness space, I'm like, okay, I mean, that's good, but like, what are we doing here in this video? So.
Oh, I just noticed the gun on the top right, that he had bent the muzzle off.
Yeah,
that's cute. That's a cute detail.
Basically a trophy from the superhero days.
Well, they're all trophies.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a funny one.
The Omnidroid might have gone a lot better if his waistline didn't require extra suction to fit into the drop pod. It's far better to have it and not need it than it is to need it and not have it. Then you have the element of self-improvement, which is always worth pursuing. You don't have to want to look like the Terminator himself, but you should strive to look and feel better than you did yesterday.
Because that's not healthy.
You'll have more energy, your mental health will improve.
Okay, is this just a fanboy now? He's just talking about, I love The Incredibles, and I learned that you should be physically fit. It's like, sure, yeah, okay. Great. Are we pausing for another aside? Like, what's the next aside? Do endurance training. Here's how you would do endurance training. It's like, sure, like we can do that.
Again,
too.
I just assume that this is a defense of the character against people that have claimed more disingenuous things.
It's a strange pivot.
That's what it sounds like to me.
It is. He could have been talking about the joys of baking. Oh, baking is fun. Sugar is delicious. Everyone loves a baker. I'm like, yeah, okay. Lots of things are positive.
Fair enough. Fair enough to your point, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
A little too much, yeah.
Seriously, work out, gents.
Anyway.
Do it for her. But, you actually need to do it for her. And this is the crux of the issue in The Incredibles. This is why it's a movie I return to time and time again, why it sits atop my personal Pixar pyramid of perfection. The movie is, at its heart, about a husband learning to truly love his wife and his family as they deserve to be loved. To love someone means to seek their good and to give of oneself unconditionally, but that doesn't preclude any and all focus on one's own well-being. At least on some basic level, we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others. You cannot give what you do not yourself have. If you have no food...
I'm going to give you the gift of muscles. Okay, that's great. What are you talking about, sir?
It's not really about him. The movie's not about him showing more love towards his wife and family. He does end up showing it through taking that big risk early on and being a super again. But that's not a big focus of the story. That is part of it. He does show it, but
what
not
he's
to that
going on
extent.
about is that his wife also gets a benefit out of her husband being fit and sexy.
Yeah, which is part of the reason why he does it. That's added on top of
which returns the favor.
Yeah, but he's devolving into platitudes, seeing the movie as it can do no wrong. Let me extol the virtues of this scene where he's working out, and let me talk about working out for 2 minutes. And here's this scene where he's great in bed, and let me show you the scenes where his wife appreciates that. And here's this scene where he's playing with his kids, and everyone should be nice with their kids. And here's this. It's like, dude, can you get to like one coherent through line of an essay? Like, this is a good movie. This is a good movie. It's like, we get it. You like the movie. What's the point?
He is getting closer to the end of the movie, which is where the line comes from. Let's hope he gets there quickly enough to actually get to the point.
How can you feed other people? If you are unhappy, how can you spread cheer? If you don't have a purpose, how can you help others find theirs?
When you're unhappy, you can still make other people happy.
Yeah, look at Robin Williams. He was in pain for
Thank you.
Yeah, that and also Bob himself earlier in the movie when he's going out in secret to help people.
Yeah, and that's true for a lot of stand-up comedians or comedians in general.
This is so surface level. If you can't do this, then don't do that. It's like, okay, we get it.
And so this is actually a really relevant mistake that he made, because the depressed who hides his own pain in laughter and making other people laugh does help himself by making other people laugh. It pulls himself up. It allows himself to laugh as well, and relish in the joy he brings others. So just because you're not happy doesn't mean you can't make others happy, because that happiness of others makes you happy in return. Which, yes, exactly, that's what Mr. Incredible is doing. Bloody hell, how could you miss that?
Anyway, we are halfway done.
The best thing you can do to improve your relationships is take care of yourself, to the point that you are then able to care for those you love. That's what this whole montage is about. Bob is finally able to be Mr. Incredible again, or at least he's on the path back, and his renewed sense of purpose brings with it a revitalized fervor for family life. It is undeniably and obviously healthy for his marriage and his role as a father, but not complete. Because of course, none of this would have happened if not for a lie, and lies between spouses tend to have consequences. So after Helen discovers Bob's secrets thanks to Edna, she receives this advice.
You will show him you remember that he is Mr. Incredible, and you will remind him who you are.
Throughout this story, Bob has lived in two worlds. In one is Robert Parr, corporate drone and middle-class father with a beat-up old car, and in the other as Mr. Incredible, a superhero with no rival among man or machine, and never the twain shall meet. But that state of affairs cannot be allowed to continue. Those responsibilities are each individually too powerful. Their pulls will cause a separation. You remember this moment?
Important is that Mommy and I are always a team.
You should, because it's the third time I've played it. At
The
the
daughter
time,
was a
they were
better
pretty
character
hollow
when
words,
depressed.
as Mr. Incredible was a self-proclaimed solo artist, and husband and wife had, in fact, been having a rather spirited argument about Bob Parr's participation, or lack thereof, in family life. Nonetheless, there was truth in those words. Behind them was the memory of a promise made years before.
As long as we both shall live, no matter what happens.
Assumedly, the two never got a chance to really be a team as they had planned, as the lawsuits disrupted superhero life immediately after their marriage. And while working together to build a family is wonderful and incredibly fulfilling, it's no small wonder Bob found it not enough. And perhaps he was right to feel that way. That's not to excuse his lackluster parenting, but rather to say that Bob was justified in desiring to use his talents for their intended purpose.
He's just
and his
repeating
struggle
himself
when
now?
doing so became impossible is entirely understandable and reasonable. Being held back from our goals and pursuits, especially when what we seek is good and righteous, will provoke a legitimate sense of frustration. Bob doesn't just help people for a living. He is Mr. Incredible. Helen is Elastigirl. This is an underappreciated moment in the movie, if you ask me. As much as Bob...
Yeah, this is just a fanboy. I'm sorry. This is just, I like this movie. Here's why. Blah, 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 blah. You're like, okay, great. I get it. You like the film.
How can you even judge whether a moment in the movie is underappreciated? For that, you would need to know whether people appreciate or don't appreciate that moment.
You do not see the film as I do. I'm the real appreciator, and you must listen to me. Like, okay, yeah, you see it, sir. You are the fanboy. You got it. There's nothing wrong with extolling the virtues of a thing you like when it's a good thing. This is redundant. There's nothing. Maybe if he said it in a very simpler way, that we can go, yes, this is your point. But he's repeating himself. He's going over scenes for the third time. And it's like, yeah, this is all surface level stuff. You're not really doing anything. You're not making me learn anything new than we didn't get watching a Disney or a Pixar film.
And I think it's just padding for the algorithm at this point.
I don't know. There's nothing here, really. I mean, it's not bad. It's just redundant and surface level stuff. And you're like, all right.
Has to really not be the hero he once was, at least not in the same way he once was. Helen has to understand that she still can be, that she still is a superhero. Her strength...
Is that ever an issue? Does she have that conflict? I don't think so. She's pretty much well adjusted. It's really about Mr. Incredible's issues, not hers, if she has any.
talents, her gifts should not remain hidden away from the world if the world needs them, if her family needs them. Self-actualization gets a bad rap in modern media criticism, and I've given the concept a lot of guff myself, but that's because the potential reached by many self-actualizing characters nowadays is a selfish, inane one. Self-actualization is shown to be this bland, I don't need to change brand of self-acceptance and nothing more.
Yeah, because
In
it's all
Incredibles, both
narcissism.
main characters become self-actualized, but
What stories have I don't need to change
There's
and
no-
that's okay? Which movies?
There's no in those bad Marvel examples. There's no self-actualization
The whole issue.
because because all these characters are narcissists. There's self-inserts from assholes in the creation process of those shows and movies.
Yeah, the whole point of a story is to get to its climax and see what choice the protagonist is going to make. And it doesn't matter whether they are going A or B. And A could be to grow and change, B could be to stay the same, but we need to understand why they stay the same. It's the why that matters as a motive for the plot to make sense. That's it. So I don't care if it's self-actualized or remain the same, so long as it's justified within the context of whatever theme, whatever philosophy, whatever conditions the character is in to grow or not grow. That's fine. So if he doesn't like certain stories for accepting that, that's great. But tell me why, for example, She-Hulk was bad. What was wrong with that? I don't know. I haven't watched it. I don't care. But tell me what is wrong. So we say, oh, this Marvel film thing sucks. Mr. Incredibles is good because the wife had some problems. I don't even think she did. So I don't know, dude. He's mixing some things up here. I don't like why he's doing this.
only through each other. Yes, they are Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, each an amazing individual who has their own worth, but they are also Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl. The two are one.
Oh God,
He's just babbling
This is
now.
dumb. This is not even first level university language or thinking. This is
It's just slogans.
grade 9 maybe here and there. I'm a fanboy. I like the film. Da 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 da. Here's some platitudes. Like, we get it. You like the film. Other films bad. Mr. Incredible's good.
They just have to act like it. Being a part of a team means that the individual is not enough, that you need help. And, well,
I mean, Mr. Incredible calling for help? Lame, 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 lame!
thank you, Syndrome, for highlighting my point. The man who has to call for help is weak and ineffective, or so the villain of this story would have you believe. That is, of course, ridiculous, but for our
Okay, this is just a run-on sentence. He's got like 12 different points every minute, and I'm like, okay, yeah. What's next? Again, I said baking. Maybe he's going to go back to home style life, and Mrs. Elastigirl or whatever is going to be baking for her family, and that's a good thing. Bread is good. It sustains life. It comes from the earth. It's natural. Why aren't you eating more bread? Bread is good for you. Blah blah blah. It's like, okay.
Do not get your writing advice from Frank Herbert.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. The second trilogy. It's all this. Imagine this video going on for 20 hours. and then becoming smut in the middle.
Yeah, well, that happened. Anyway, we got a few minutes left.
protagonist who has always emerged victorious due to his own merit, it wouldn't sound quite so silly. Admitting that you are not enough, that you need someone else, strikes quite the blow to our masculine pride.
No, why? How? You think masculine men don't fall? They don't fail their trainings or their whatever they're working at? Of course they do. They're apprentices and journeymen and people learning to go to do an exercise routine and all kinds of skills. When did this even happen in the film? Asking for help is a bad thing. I don't recall that at all. Is that the second film?
Did he say that?
Well, yeah, he talked about how what's that guy? Who's the villain in the second film? That smart kid that looks up to Mr. Incredible.
Oh, that is Syndrome.
Yeah, he had the
That's
scene.
in the first movie.
Oh, it was in the first? I thought it was the second film. Well, he had the scene where he's saying, "Puh, that's lame. You're asking for help as a hero." It's like, why? I don't understand. But even if you're not a hero, like, what's wrong with? There's nothing wrong with asking for help. That means you know your limitation. You know you're in a dangerous area, or you know you can't do something.
Yeah, good works best when it works together. Because evil tends to be really good at working together with other evil assholes for some reason, which seems counterintuitive.
It seems as if, well, not everyone's the best at everything. You have to get to your level, your plateau of skill, and then you ask for help. That's how you train. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. I don't see this as a weakness or as a strength. It's just a natural part of doing a thing and doing it longer and longer until you realize, okay, I need to learn something to progress. That's all this is.
Yeah. The thing in Mr. Incredible's case is that he did not expect that he could ask for help. Had he known that his entire family would be on his side and that his kids are supers on that level, that they are all capable, he would have had no trouble doing so. Because he believes in his family.
Dudes got lost before the invention of Google Maps. Leif Erikson only discovered America because he refused to ask Jormungandr for directions back to Iceland. Strength is not absolute.
Where did that come from?
That was nonsense.
What is that? What was that from?
I want to hear that again. Was that a Jormungandr joke?
I think so.
Pride. Why do you think so many dudes got lost before the invention of Google Maps? Leif Erikson only discovered
Leif
Erikson.
Okay.
America because he refused to ask Jormungandr for directions back to Iceland. Strength
fuck you.
is not absolute.
Strength?
No, that is a really dumb joke. Leif Erikson got over there because he was an adventurer. He wanted to see the world. He believed, like Columbus, that there is land. There is something. We can find a better world. Because you know why people went to Iceland in the first place? Because they wanted to get away from being enslaved by all the other Vikings. And then they went to Greenland. And then they tried to settle in the Americas. All the way down to South America. Didn't really work well with the natives, though, but you know.
So yeah, strength is absolute, or not absolute, sorry. It's like, all right, here we go. Another train of thought.
True strength requires...
True strength. Oh no, he's using the evil words I hate the most. Real.
I want to say humility. That's okay.
It's real. It's true strength. It's the absolute strength. It's the only real strength. Okay.
No. It's proper strength.
The strength that only I know of. Okay.
Humility, accurate self-knowledge, and the ability to acknowledge our own shortcomings. Strength before weakness.
Oh my God! Stop it!
What is that? Strength before weakness. What is that? What are you just throwing random words together?
How about strength before milk? How about sleeping before exercising?
Are you trying to sound philosophical? This is not wisdom.
He has like 7 different ideas in one paragraph. What is he talking about? Dude, do not base your entire identity off of freaking movie.
But holy hell, the execution.
Can you imagine a grade 10 English teacher critiquing this essay, going like, where are you going with this? Like, what are you doing?
I would ask the parents whether he's on meds or missing out.
Yeah, does he like write one paragraph or one sentence, go for a walk, get tripped out on like sugar and go for a run, lift some weights, come back and go, running is fun, and then I should incorporate that into this essay. Exercising is good for you. And you're like, what? What are you doing?
This essay has ADHD.
Anyway, we're almost done, so let's keep going.
Of the strong to protect the weak. The strong stand before the weak.
Oh my God.
No, it's not their duty, it's that they are the only ones who can. Whether they take that up, that responsibility, that's up to them.
The strong stand before the weak. You're like, don't the strong can't A stand before the B in any context? Like, what is it?
You know, you're also missing that a lot of bad people are weak people. So should you stand up to their defense while they beat up others and pull them down or push them down?
I don't know what this essay is about anymore. All right.
Between those unable to protect themselves and those who would do them harm. They allow the weak to survive so that the weak might become strong.
What are you talking about? How does that even, what? Do you honestly think firemen go into a building protecting the weak so that the weak can become strong like them? Like,
I told you, it's just sloganeering now. Where you say platitudes, I say sloganeering.
The strong stand before the weak so they can save the weak so the weak can become strong like them, and then the strong will protect the weak again, and so on and so forth.
You know, that adults who are weak are usually gonna stay weak. The weak we try to protect are the children.
Oh, God. Anyway.
You never know when your own weakness might require the strength of another. That brings us to the movie's final showdown. No, not that one. This one.
I'm asking you to wait with the kids.
And I'm telling you, not a chance. You're my husband, I'm with you.
The entire movie has been building to this conversation. From Mr. Incredible's perpetually triumphant strength, to his failures as a husband and father, to his rejuvenation and redemption as a hero, to the moment where he thought his wife and children lost forever, his character has been brilliantly set up for this moment. He has reclaimed his title as Mr. Incredible, but now he knows one fact he'd never known before.
I'm not strong enough.
Mr. Incredible can't do it on his own. He wanted to. He tried to. He aspired to be a hero for the world and for his family, letting his wife and children rest in blissful ignorance and safety, and he failed.
Yeah, but that is that is what makes the hero in the first place, because he doesn't want to endanger his family. So why would he draw them in, especially his children? That would be insane. That would be negligent at best. So of course he doesn't. It's a logical thing to do with the knowledge he has. Bloody hell, you can't actually make your argument the way you want to.
Only because he relied on his own strength and his strength alone.
If we work together, you won't have to be.
Top 10 moment in cinematic history. It's perfect, it's brilliant, it's everything I could have ever wanted from a film. Our strength is not enough.
Oh, God, this guy is just a fanboy. Gushing about the thing that can do no wrong and blah-de-blah. It's this film.
Just going in circuits.
Oh, good Lord.
And Kingo ran off.
Yeah. I mean,
I just came back.
Oh, he's back. Okay.
Right. Of course.
Look in the DM chat.
Oh, yeah?
It just says, be right back.
Yeah. And then 18 minutes later, I came back.
At the exact moment where I called you out on being gone.
All right. Anyway, we got our 2-minute mark. See how crazy this goes.
It is rightly ordered and aimed at a good and true purpose. It will.
Good and true. It is the thing that is 100% accurate, and this is the real thing that I have seen and you have not. And it is true and not. Yeah, okay.
Ultimately, because it is not absolute. It cannot hold back the tide indefinitely. It will break. In that moment, we must rely on the strength of others. That is not a weakness. That is life. The man who possesses virtuous masculine strength will acknowledge and accept his limits. He will respect the agency and strength of others without letting it wound his pride. He will let others love him as he loves them. That is what is so beautiful about this moment. In the space of a few words, Bob and Helen express their love for each other in their own
yeah, and if his family wasn't that capable, then he'd be dead.
And they all be dead.
You're my husband, I'm with you. For better or worse.
I can't lose you again!
And Bob, in particular, has to let himself be loved by his wife.
What? How do you know he's not?
That was never the question.
When was he ever questioning the love of his wife?
Or
Bob is-
rejecting it, or
Wasn't
licking
a-
it. That
it
was
wasn't a
not
lack-
the case.
It wasn't a lack of love. It was a lack of honesty.
He's just bringing up random slogans. They don't fit, but these are all lines that you hear here or there in any critiques, reviews, interpretations, and whatnot. Standard lines. There is no real thought here. There's just regurgitation of the words of others, trying to somehow glue it to this movie.
Yeah, this is really not what I was hoping.
Yeah, he's reading a bit. He's reading a bit too much into it. The movie gives you everything you need to know. First off,
Comes to accept that the best way to protect her, to love her, is to let her fight by his side. Finally, husband and wife are a team. Here's the thing about strength. It takes on a multitude of forms, all of which need to be properly cultivated and ordered. Physical strength must be earned, well, in most cases, through hard work, physical pain, and the denial of one's desire for comfort and donuts. That's
Earned?
the easy
That's
part.
the wrong word.
Have you ever gone to the gym? Do you know how much sugar gymnasts eat just to keep going? Do you know what glycogen is?
I'd say gained is a better word than earned.
Yeah, but
Gained through hard work.
not eating
It is
donuts.
the reward.
They eat everything. Bodybuilders eat every kind of food, especially sugar, because that's the first fuel source to go next to fuel.
Yeah.
So yes, they do eat donuts. They eat hamburgers. They eat fast food. They eat all kinds of things.
If he means like that must veer away from excess of that, then sure, that's just common sense.
This is getting weird.
The emotional strengths, courage,
The different flavors of strength. Here we go. Okay.
perseverance, temperance, etc., take significantly
Etc. Just all of them, all the strengths. Just all those things that I didn't bother to research, and they're just words that I know.
more work. And yet they're even more necessary than is physical strength, because without them, said strength has no power. If the strongest man
That
in the
doesn't
world
mean they're more necessary.
What is that? I don't have physical strength. All the other virtues mean nothing. Like what are you talking about?
And how do you sustain the other virtues if you don't have strength?
Is he
These
making?
things come together.
Is he
They're
making?
not-
Yeah, you can make the ethical argument. You're not an ethical beast unless you can do unethical things. So you must become this creature that knows the value of unethics to become ethical. You could make that argument, but he's not doing that. He's just saying, if you don't have strength, you don't have the other things. You're like, what do you mean?
buckles under. What good is he?
What is the point of all those push-ups if you can't even lift a bloody log?
The log is, of course, not just a log, but rather a placeholder for the lack of will to fight, and lifting it is Bruce's way of showing that he has not given up. But this isn't a Batman video. Mr. Incredible's physical prowess was never in doubt. Even in his darkest moments, it was still clearly there, albeit buried a little. His
Skyrim?
emotional fortitude? Well, the growth of that...
Was that Skyrim? What is this music? I don't know. Where's this?
Where?
I don't know.
Oh, the music. Okay, it's well, whatever on that, but
It's getting weird.
That virtue served as the centerpiece of his character arc, as he changed from the man who was enough, who could do it all every time, to the man who was floundering, hopeless, and purposeless, to the man who was once again convinced that he could do it all, and then finally to the man who realized that he could not, but who was willing to accept that his not being strong enough was not a flaw, but rather the very thing that makes him Mr. Incredible. He cares.
What?
that he cares.
That was lame.
That was just like this dude was on Adderall. And like, he's just like, dude, just chill out, focus on one topic and get through it, not 30 different ideas. Oh my God, what a fanboy wank.
Yep. That was not fun.
Oh, jeez. Like,
it looked okay in the beginning, and
well, all he was doing
this drivel.
The first 8 minutes, he was just talking about describing the plot. And you're like, all right, yeah, that happened. That's a thing, and that's a good thing, and that's a bad thing, and blah blah blah. You're like, okay, great. And then they just switched gears, and I went, physical strength is important. You should be jacked. Like, what the fuck? Well, okay. Sure.
And Mordek in the chat, no, he said that the other things are more important than the physical strength because the physical strength doesn't work if the other things aren't present. That was his logic. And that is wrong. Because the other things also don't work if there's no strength to back them up. They're equal.
All right.
They're all equally important. They all need to come together. All these puzzle pieces.
Here's Wisp. We got the first meme from Wisp. There it is.
Yeah.
She looks kind of tired. Is that like bags under her eyes, or?
She looks ancient. She looks like an old woman, and that's not the worst screenshot. That's the only one I took.
All right. Types of headache.
No, Mordek, that's wrong. That's not what he said. He said the others are more important.
Okay, so
Listen to the video again.
Types of headache: migraine, hypertension, stress. Breaking down Evelyn's plan is Incredibles 2. Oh, all right.
No, that plan isn't difficult.
When destroying the evidence reveals your hand. What?
Can I see the new design for your super secret
I don't know,
product?
Jeremy is just reposting memes all the time. They have nothing to do with the stream. We have a memes channel for these.
Yeah, and
memes are not the memes channel.
I already told him to get these out of here, and he reposted them. Dude, just... No. Anyway, Cyberfrog.
Okay. We have the classic Incredibles 2 template meme?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my. A team of 4 superheroes who are also happen to be a family. A stretchy person who is sometimes the leader. A smart girl with invisibility and force fields who feels overshadowed by her peers. A hot-headed immature kid who is the brother of the invisible girl. A strong but kind of stupid guy at heart of the team. Former friend who rules over a small nation and controls robots with cool tech. A mind controller who tries to taint the good image of superheroes. A very young child with extraordinary but erratic powers. Which one is that?
I would like to object and say that neither Ben Grimm nor Bob Parr are stupid. They can be a little dense sometimes, but they're not ignoramuses.
Yeah. Who's the last?
They're smart in their own ways. On the Fantastic Four side, I think that might be one of Reed and Sue's kids.
Okay. Don't know.
They had 2. I think that's probably one of them.
Yeah, strength before weakness, whatever that means. Like,
yeah, it's like, what the fuck?
Coffee before tea. How video essayists imagine themselves when they make basic observations. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they're about or are aware they're swallowing hemlock. Probably not the best image to use for that. But yeah, it's probably like they're about to die on a hill. Something like that. Video essayists, when you tell them to stop being pretentious, it defines who I am. Yeah. So I thought it would be a fun little, philosophy level analysis essay. Turns out it was a grade 10 at best vocabulary. Trying to use words essay when being a fanboy is what happened. Sadly. So maybe he has better words.
A lot of it was on point, but he just read too much into it.
Yeah, I'm nothing against people who enjoy films and they personally can interpret the way they like. But Incredibles is not complicated. It's very simple. It's why everyone loves it. You understand the hero very well. They articulate it. The points of conflict are very clear. And it comes to a climax near the end where he admits that he doesn't want to lose his family. He cares about his family. That's the whole point. His family's like, or the wife is like, I want to be part of this. Let me help you. I'm also a superhero. Don't neglect me. He goes, okay. And the movie's over because they win the day. Great movie.
So there's definitely a bit of nuance when it comes to the superhero genre that Incredibles takes certain ideas and runs with them in a certain direction, and that in some cases improves on certain ideas. Again, the subversion of like Bob and Lucius going out every night in secret. It's like the trope is that they go out to drink when Bob and Lucius are out there helping people in secret with their powers.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Anyway, very wordy essay, not worth the effort. If you like the thing, great. Do not expose your bias like that, guys. It's not going to help anyone. So, but
and to the halfway point, I thought we just hadn't anything to comment on because it was pretty okay until then.
Yeah, I was honestly hoping for some like consequentialism, because when you talk about superheroes, you're talking about utilitarian versus deontological ethics, and what does that mean to the individual? Are they selfish? Are they doing it for the fun of it? Are they doing it because they want to help people? What's the function? And that's why we have The Boys, which is this whole story about what if it was a business? What if they did this for money, and how would that work? So that's great. We have these wonderful stories that do actually talk about ethics and morals, or at least deal with ethics and morals, where this is just a fanboy saying strength is really important. It's all its permutations. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
But all the other things are more important.
Yeah, sure.
all those other virtues I didn't bother to talk about. They're all there, but yeah.
Sure. For those watching the stream, what are you waiting for? If you haven't seen The Incredibles, it still holds up even after 20 years. Go watch it.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for the suggestion. It wasn't horrible. It was just, to me, too pretentious to take seriously. So, anyway.
Yep.
Have yourself a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Good night.
Night.